Well, hello, that's me again. Today is Tuesday, August 20th, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Okay, let me start with sort of the SitRep, and as I already stated many times, and keep in mind that I hate tactical minutia. I hate going into these details that, oh my God, the couple of S-334s just wiped out the column of whatever they were trying to push through with some supplies or some attempts at attack of the armed forces of Ukraine, together with all those bunch of the so-called volunteers from the United States, which means actually private military companies. Good luck for them to survive. And now Russia openly says that, well, yeah, those American journalists who went there, by the way, this is the proof to you that United States was absolutely, not informed about what was going on. Of course, it was from the blessing of the United States what has been done. And I suggest you to go to my good friend Larry Johnson's website, Sonar 21, and you will hear there what he's talking about to Judge Napolitano, which of course Judge Napolitano was basically, struck down by YouTube. I guess it is what it is. What can I say? So, and those journalists now can be sure that their names will be, they will be identified and will be charged with the abating and supporting terrorists. The rest will be killed. And so let's start with the admission by even this globalist cabal, which obviously will not have even basic understanding of what is going on. But again, you have to understand that journalism as such, it's not a profession. Those people don't know anything. The only thing they can do is use some kind of hyperbole to describe what they're seeing. But even the economists, this globalist, rag from London, which, how to put it politely, they are for some reason afraid to put names of those people who write this garbage. But even these guys, they say that Russia double punch back against Ukraine, shock rate, it is bombing Ukrainians in Kursk and advancing in Pokrovsk. So they even they admit it, but the problem with them, of course, they are mathematically challenged in London, so it's not double punch. And we'll talk about this in a second, but obviously it's not bombing per se. So if you listen today to yesterday's actually in the evening of Apti Alaudinov, who is in there. He is actually in a very sarcastic and if not ironic tone talks about those guys poor sods, and they are actually all those dispersed units, many of them localized within the forest, and this is the essentially mopping up operation with some stupid attempts of those people trying to I don't know, emulate attack or something like that. It's just complete slaughter. And he's talking about those poor souls. They scream at the radio to extract them because they cannot take this anymore and the losses are horrendous. So what did they expect? So, and here is, let's take a look at what is going on in terms of the people who actually are there. And look at this. We'll start with Balloon. He is 810th Naval Infantry, which is Marines Brigade. The guy actually went from the simple auto mechanic in the unit of the, or sub-unit rather, of the 810th Brigade of Naval Infantry or Marines, and here he's now the platoon commander, and believe me, God bless his soul, once this whole thing over, he probably will attend academy and will become one of the best probably tactical level commanders out there. And he's explaining in this wonderful report, it's Komsomolskaya Pravda and Alexander Kots did it, it's 15-minute video, you can easily find it, and he's talking about Balu, he's talking about why West cannot freaking out understand how Russians fight, because he says no matter what kind of analysis they do, they will not understand. They don't understand the culture, they don't understand the approach to the warfare, and I totally agree with him because I wrote precisely 4 books about this, because you cannot teach them in Pentagon or elsewhere how they fight, because he explains there also what happened when 2 squads actually of Marines disposed of the whole company of these people. And you know what? It's all tactical minutia. So now we have this guy, and his name is Will, and his call sign is Boston because he's from Boston. He served in U.S. Air Force. The wonderful guy, and he is actually in one of the subunits. He is responsible for the UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, and wonderful guy. You know, that's what Russians always view Americans like. Just absolutely lead this. He lead the screen, you know, with his wit and, you know, irony. And so, and let me put it this way. There are many of them. There are many Americans who actually fight for Russia. There are many British guys who fight for Russia. But look at this. Obviously, the response from Russia was overwhelmingly positive. They want to hug him and all that. And look at this. This is one of the most, you know, profound comments there yesterday, which also touched me. And here's the guy who writes that, please convey to this guy that nobody will ever consider him a traitor, obviously for the United States. Traitors are those who betrayed the memory of their grandfathers in the United States and in Great Britain, who shoulder to shoulder fought with our grandfathers against fascism. Now, sadly, those grandchildren are now on the side of fascism, and say, good luck and God bless you, Sergeant, you know, let God help you. So this is actually what is going on there, and there's a lot of things which are going on there. And now let's go to this, what economist tries to, you know, present as the double punch. No, it's not a double punch. And operational art is called art because you have only tools. What you do with your tools, and your tools is operational planning, operational, make no mistake, operational and strategic, because this is where the war is won. So why it is called art? Here's one of the examples. Okay, something happens, something, you miss the some punch. Although we know that's, this stunning so-called advance, it was one of the stupidest militarily and dumbest thing which you can possibly see in your military history. And yeah, that was planned, everybody knows now, in, you know, in NATO. And yeah, those guys are not good, okay? They're plain simple. But the art, you have tools, operational planning tools. It's mathematics, it's physics, understanding of your table of organization and equipment, tactical parameters of your not only just weapon systems, but your specific units or formations. You know how they fight, you know their combat effectiveness. And at some point of time, when you have this basically set toolkit, you decide how to do it and how you can use it. And what happened in Kursk right now is that suddenly you apply artistic approach to it. Why not to use it? Well, it's judo, aikido, if you wish. Suddenly we have they screaming there. If you go out in those poor sods, VSU and Armed Forces of Ukraine and whoever those Americans and British and Italians come back from Rai and all of those, you know, who fight there, they're suddenly surrounded, obviously, and they're localized and they are mopped up, they are killed. I mean, in tremendous amounts. And this is what you create your operational opportunity. And suddenly, once you allow this first punch to pass through, you return, not double. And here, let's take a look at the armed losses today. Today is it's a rich harvest, honestly. So, and everybody who is in Kursk, they say, my gosh, we never saw that much losses there, you know. And this is on the 20th. And as you can see yourself, 5 tanks and APCs, 26 armored vehicles. Yeah, there is a slaughter of that. And then there is artillery, mortars 29, 3 MLRS among them. Also yet another M270 with the HIMARS. So yeah, it's a hunt. It's basically, you know, a hunt again. And so if you let's take a look what this so-called double punch is. We will start again. We'll start at the Kupiansk axis, and if you take a look at it, this is a map from yesterday, actually no, 2 days ago. And actually, as you can see yourself, even the arrow shows you advance towards Kupiansk and towards those narrow parts of the Oskol River, which make it much easier to provide the pontoon bridges for Russian forces to cross that river. In some places, the Oskol River, it's towards the north, more towards Kupiansk. It reaches, actually reduces itself to the width of about 25-30 meters. So it's not big for engineering corps or engineering brigades to put the pontoon bridges there. Then we have the situation, so, you know, and then we have this situation. Yeah, that is Toretsk. You see this? Circled? Yeah, nice little, not just operational surrounding, but a tactical cauldron, so which will be reduced, as you can see yourself. We don't know how many of armed forces of Ukraine will die there, and actually this is 19th of August. Russians are in Toretsk, and Toretsk is essentially now in the, because this is not up-to-date map, but you can see yourself where it is going. Toretsk will be surrounded, and it will fall eventually. And then, of course, we take a look at Pokrovsk. My gosh, this is really something, okay? And actually, this is, although it's on the 20th, it doesn't reflect all of the advances, but evidently, as the latest news say, Russians are within 6 kilometers of the center of Pokrovsk. So you can spread this, you know, intestine, so to speak, which broke through, or hernia, if you wish, towards Pokrovsk by about, 4 kilometers. And, well, yeah, they're not gonna live there long enough now, all those forces by armed forces of Ukraine. As you can see yourself, advances in a day are mounting to 4 kilometers. So yeah, it's happening. And then, of course, we go and I explain why those people in media, in not only American media, are, well, mentally and geographically and mathematically challenged. They talk about this somehow 1,000 square kilometers. You cannot explain moron that even, as you can see yourself, all those dashed lines, they never got more than about 120 to 150 square kilometers. But again, this requires a little bit understanding of the geometry, you know, and basic mathematics. But as you can see yourself, it's being reduced, and now they cannot get out and be transferred to Sumy, to area, whatever is remaining there of those forces. And as I already stated, it's a slaughter. And what do you expect? This is what is gonna happen inevitably. That's how they will be finished off. And so now that also RT reports that actually Zelensky reveals goals of Kursk region incursion. And yeah, Kiev is seeking to take Russians captive. Well, they took some POWs. There were some very small units located at the border, including border guards, but primarily they took civilians. And this is pure terrorism, but this is how the operations are done by NATO, which is essentially, you know, becoming a sort of terrorist organization. And what can I say? There's nothing new in that. I mean, they openly, Russians now, Russian soldiers, Russian officers say openly, they hide literally behind backs of the Russian civilians. That was the point, to take as many hostages as possible and then try to get all those kinds of their, you know, deals, if you wish. And now, what can I say? I mean, that's terrorism, pure and simple. But again, you cannot explain this through any, you know, jerk from New York Times, WAPO, CNN, or MSNBC, that they are terrorists. And I was on record for a long time now. These people are military war criminals. And again, they need to be charged with the terrorism, because what is happening there, it has nothing to do with the real military operation, because only imbecile would plan that, okay? And only imbecile will give blessing to it. And we know it all originated in Washington and London. You cannot teach those people. And as this guy with the call sign Balu says, yeah, they're not good. They cannot understand. They analyze, but they will not learn those lessons. But as I already stated, you cannot learn them within the framework of completely confabulated American military history and of the second half of the 20th century, and even for the World War II. But can you imagine breaking this to some, rigid guy who, well, went through the, West Point and saw a lot of Hollywood movies, who thinks that, yeah, it was Patton who wanted to attack Russians and drive them to Moscow. You cannot explain to the guy, especially with the level the mathematics is taught, I mean, in the U.S. Higher military facilities, that, this good old, correlation of forces and means, and when they begin to look at the real numbers, including of the Soviet Air Force, the largest tactical operational air force in history, then suddenly they're like, oh yeah, but Patton was good. No, he was not. He was a very mediocre guy who knew only how to run along the roads, and, suck the oil or gasoline from anybody who he would encounter. That's not military talent. But then again, you have to explain and present to them what military talent is, how the operations are conducted. And one of this, it's, operational strategic level, what is happening right now in Ukraine. And yeah, they will continue to, masturbate to this 150 square kilometers, which are being reduced now to much less than that. And they will say that, oh my God, stunning incursion. Yeah, it's incursion, all right. Well, when you do the real offensive, you conduct real operations and you fight real battles, you do it for some real military political objective. But you cannot explain to them. They really live in this, delusional world. So, and wrapping up this part of the segment with the SitRep of sorts, I'm so sick and tired. And you know what? You even go somewhere and you look at the comments and some moron says, oh, I read today that Russians, Putin's still ready to negotiate. Let me show you something because it's becoming nauseating. Here is Mr. Lavrov, foreign minister. And he's giving the interview to Mr. Zarubin. And he, quote, straightforward says, no negotiations, period. And he said, why do we even ask those questions when Mr. Putin already stated there is no negotiations with the regime in Kiev? Fact is, now there is no negotiations although with Washington. But you know what? Those morons continue. They go around reading all kinds of these shady, so-called military analysis sites run by amateurs or mama's boys from the basement. And they say that, oh yeah, we just read this. No, you didn't. This is the official position of Russia. No negotiations, period. The social order, just overwhelming desire on the part of Russian people now, of all different ethnicities, from ethnic Russians to, Chechens to Tatars to what have Yakuts, and all of it, they want Ukraine gone, and it will be gone now. And that's it. And there will be no negotiations anymore. You cannot negotiate with people in Washington. They lie, they cheat, they steal, as Mr. Pompeo says, and there is no honor there left. There is nobody to talk to. And this is the thing which many people still do not understand this reality. To shake hands with who? With Trump, if he wins? Oh, the guy, yeah, I mean, please. If Harris, well, yeah, then even less so, So what can I say? But, yeah. So now, once we covered this, let me remind you, 8 years ago, I showed it before, but here it is. Remember, it's Thursday, December 22, 2016. It was called From Creek to a River. And I was talking about the issue that at that time, well, barely noticeable, but already existing immigration of especially Germans. And I'm talking about not Russian Germans. I'm talking about German Germans. Migration from Western Europe to Russia is a separate matter. How large is the flow of West European immigrants is difficult to assess as of now. But then I actually explained that that's why was the title of this From Creek to a River, that essentially Russia inevitably will open its doors to, well, primarily what is called Christian root normal Europeans with, and the creek will turn to a river. Well, it's going to turn much more into much more than a river. And this is historic first. Well, not first really, but since Catherine the Great, this is first. And this is Vladimir Putin yesterday. The Russian Federation will help those who do not accept the values of the West in resettlement. This is unprecedented. This is specifically, and this is decree of Mr. Putin. You can read it, you can see yourself. And as noted in the document, the opportunity to apply for temporary residence in the Russian Federation is given to such foreigners without taking into account the quota approved by the government of the Russian Federation and without submitting a document confirming knowledge of the Russian language, knowledge of the history of Russia, and the basics of legislation. The reason may be the rejection of the policy of their countries, which imposes destructive neoliberal ideological attitudes that contradict traditional Russian spiritual and moral values. So here is the story of the question. The list of values have been already established by the fundamentals of the state policy in this area, while the list of states that impose unhealthy attitudes on their citizens is to be compiled by the government of the Russian Federation. The Ministry of the Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation is instructed to start issuing 3-month visas for moral reasons in September. In February, at the forum of the Agency for Strategic Initiatives, Putin supported the idea of Italian student Irene Cecchini, who proposed to simplify the move to the Russian Federation on the basis of cultural, traditional, and family values. The head of state agreed with Cecchini words that in order to determine what kind of people come to the country, an individual approach is needed. So this is it's a bomb. It's a thermonuclear bomb. What it says now, and for people who will be now reading all kind of garbage and crap in all kinds of the media outlets, I explain. 3 months. What is 3 months? Temporarily. That means within 3 months you can apply for the permanent residence. And then the process starts of you to basically resettling in Russia. Guess who it directed to? You already guessed it. Towards Western Europe and North America. Simple as that. And suddenly, as already many families from the United States, Canada, and especially Germany, as Maria Butina, who used to be, prisoner in the United States, now she is the member of Parliament, State Duma, she's talking about the Germans will be the first ones because they just overwhelming number of Germans are, willing to, not willing, they want to, resettle in Russia and just become Russians and things of this nature because we know what is happening there. And of course, that was one of the major, showpieces which happened when the Italian journalist, during the open ceremony in Paris Olympics, he stated openly on air, said, I cannot take this anymore. Mr. President, please give me the political asylum. And guess what? He got it. So, because what is happening now is a pure sheer Satanism. Well, for example, Mr. The candidate for the vice presidency, Mr. Walz, he was the guy who was putting tampons for menstruations in the boys' rooms in Minnesota schools. So there you go. You may ask what's happening. Well, juvenile so-called justice in Germany is a totalitarian actually organization, the same as it is in UK. Well, UK, for all intents and purposes, is over as a nation. But for example, they can come in and take your children away from you if you explain to children about all those situations about sex, gender, and all that thing, which do not follow political position of the government in Germany or UK. And nothing you can do about it. So what can you do? And what is the most precious and dearest thing in your life? Children. So you have to run. It's unprecedented historic turnover. It's 180 degrees change of the, the unbelievable change. I do not have enough words to describe it. That suddenly, guys, we immigrated to the United States. It was a very different country 30 plus years ago. It was the country which you would admire. You would admire the rule of law. Yeah, there were obviously, as anywhere, there were problems and things like that. But it wasn't democracy which everybody admired. Everybody admired American rule of law. You know how you do things. You know how you will react. And law enforcement will react to it. But not in Germany anymore. They will go and take your children if you invoke the name of Jesus Christ. And believe me, I'm atheist, but I understand people over the Christian root. And guess what? Suddenly, they have the outlet. They have place where to run, where to settle, and feel safe for their children, for their mental state. And now, guys, as I already stated, times changed. Europe will be a pauper. Actually, they are becoming already. Russia is a very rich country with a very large opportunities. And as you already can see yourself on YouTube, I'm sure those channels will be eventually removed because, brainwashed public in the United States and elsewhere shouldn't see those things. But people go from Texas to Canada to Germany and they move in big way because they want normal life where they can be their normal people. If if they're religious people, God bless. Russians have actually Catholic and Lutheran churches. If you Lutheran and Catholic, go. But eventually, of course, they bring the most precious thing which is in our lives and in history, children. And now some people say, oh no, Russia will not get the best of the best. No, Russia will get the best of the best, in terms of not only their human qualities, but in terms of their talent, technological talent, engineering talent, and things of this nature. So, and as you saw yourself, there are a bunch of Americans who fight with Russian forces. The fact is, they are Russian forces. They're just American, units, and the people love them. The Russian soldiers, praise them highly for their, combat qualities. So there you go. This is easy as that. And then suddenly you apply, you give them 3 months resettlement visa. During this time, you apply for the permanent state, settlement, and there you go. So, yeah, this is a dramatic change, to put it mildly. It's just shocking. And I'm on the man after my 60s, so it's kind of like, good God, did I ever, I couldn't have even imagined this 30 years ago, but here it is. And this order by Vladimir Putin is historic in its nature, and many people probably begin to understand the historic ramifications and implications of it. Now, in conclusion, let me show you something which by now is kind of like, yeah, it was expected, and what can I say? Spiegel writes that, 4 days ago, why the schedule for F-35 fighter jet is shaky. The planned deployment of F-35 fighter jets ordered in the United States could be delayed. According to Spiegel information, construction work for the 10 billion euro project at the Buchel site is not going according to plan. This is German efficiency and German engineering. Well, if you want to know the real number or real year to which it was delayed, I'll give you. Could be 2029. There you go. This is the type of the weapons you cannot deploy without very extensive, massive infrastructure, because for all intents and purposes, those planes are primarily the hangar queens. And when you look attentively, especially in my last book, I speak about it, the expenditure of the hours of maintenance per flying hour. It is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how those planes will perform in real war, and they will not. They are not created for the real war. They are created primarily to make profit for, and yeah, this is pretty much, this relates to most of the equipment and hardware which NATO produces. It's dismal. It's absolutely dismal. When it's in large quantities or small quantities, it's not survivable in the modern battlefield when they fight real army. But what can I say? I warned about it for 10 years at least. So, and this is what I wanted to tell you guys today. And in the end, as always, I want to express my profound gratitude to my wonderful patrons, guys. These are because of you. I'm doing what I'm doing, and thank you very much. You know who you are, especially some of you who are my dear friends. And as always, guys, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please please support me at the Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. I would really appreciate this. So that will be it for today. And have a nice rest of the week. And I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye-bye.